What's going on, guys? Steve from Merc Films here, back again with another video, and today once again we're doing something a little bit different from my usual videos. I did want to address something as far as the car gaming community is concerned. In this video I just want to address something that's been bothering me. I've been playing a lot of Forza 7 Motorsports. It's just an easy game to pick up and just kind of play when you got nothing going on or you're kind of bored. But I want to talk specifically about the multiplayer aspect, since that's pretty much the only thing that's really worth talking about in this game. I'm going to try not to talk about anything else. But before I do start my little ramble, I do want to let you guys know this is just an opinion video. I'm just expressing my thoughts about the whole multiplayer aspect, and these are my opinions through my experiences. So what you guys think may differ from what I have to say here, but if you guys want to stick around and listen to what I have to say, I appreciate it. But yeah, like I said, I did want to address the multiplayer aspect of this game. I'm not going to touch on, I'm going to try not to touch on as far as anything like the physics and career mode and the way you get cars and stuff is concerned. I'm going to try to limit myself to just talking about the multiplayer. Most of these problems are something that's been affecting Forza games in the past. It hasn't changed. It's always been a problem, in my opinion. It's always been a problem. This is not the only title it's affected, but I think it's affected Forza 7 more than any other Forza title, I think, in personal experience. So, as you guys know, Forza 7 released about a year ago, I want to say. It's been pretty good. I am a PC player. I could play on the wheel, but I want to try to keep it at a controller user basis, so I can relate more to the Xbox community as to people who play on consoles. Multiplayer does bother me in this, considering it's like the only thing I enjoy playing as far as Forza is concerned, since there's so many homologation rules that apply to playing career. It's kind of hard to just buy cars and do stuff. I just play multiplayer primarily. Problem is, multiplayer has a lot of drawbacks, especially in this title. A few other titles see some of these problems, but I think it affects this game more so than those other games, I think. First of all, I want to address as far as the playlist that you have when it comes to joining multiplayer games. At release, they didn't have much going on for it. Everything was mostly homologated cars, so you had to buy a car specifically built for that playlist. But now it seems like they've gone and added the breakout hoppers, or basically class-based. So long as you can buy any car, as long as it's within that class range. So you have S class, A class, C class, stuff like that, which is pretty good. We've had this in previous titles, and it's probably Forza's shining point as far as the multiplayer goes. This is probably what everyone wants to play, is class-based racing, not the homologation races like you get in the campaign and stuff like that. But, well, that's one thing they've done right, which is kind of nice to have, but unfortunately there's many other problems that still exist in this game. First things first, when you do, so let's say you do join a lobby, you can choose any, you will be placed into a random lobby. It's not a matchmaking system, so it won't search for players. It will search for a server or a lobby that is open and has space left over in that playlist, and it'll put you in there. The problem with this is, when you do get in the game, 9 times out of 10 you're going to join in and have to wait 5 to 10 minutes for the current race that's ongoing in that lobby to end. So to hop in and just get into a race is nearly impossible. It happens once in a blue moon, right? Once you are in a lobby, it takes too long to load in time to join the race, or you join in while the race is already ongoing. And occasionally you will get to join as the race starts, but that rarely happens. And unfortunately, this does result in waiting anywhere between 5 and 20 minutes, which is, I don't know, it seems kind of ridiculous as far as for being a console game with a huge audience. Just, you can't quite just get in and just instantly get into a game like, Forza Horizon and some of the previous titles as you've been able to. But that wouldn't be a big issue. But in this iteration, in this Forza title, you can't really do anything as far as once you're in the lobby and waiting. Once you are in, you can select your cars, download other people's tunes, and change your driver gear, look at the cars that other people are running in that current lobby. But that's about it. That's all you can really do. Pretty much sitting there for 5 to 20 minutes, playing with your... And you pretty much sit there for 5 to 20 minutes depending on how far the race has gone. This is in most cases this is what happens. And this wouldn't be a big deal if you had something to do, and like I said, you can select your car, change driver gear, look at other people's stuff, but this only keeps you occupied for so long. It doesn't take long to go in and select the car, even though the menus run like ass on PC. Like, to navigate menus, it's really slow. Everything loads so slow. Maybe it might be an issue with me not being on an SSD, but even then, it seems a little ridiculous how long I'm waiting to load in. And this might just be a PC kind of thing, but I don't know. Maybe it does affect console players as well. But you got nothing to do. And if I remember correctly, in previous titles, you were able to spectate while you waited. In this version, you can't watch. You can't have a player spectator while the game is ongoing, so you just kind of sit there and do nothing. It wouldn't be a big deal if you had a spectator mode. You can at least watch the race, see how it's going, see what kind of lobby you are in, get an idea of what the other drivers are like, so you can either stay or go and re-queue and get into another lobby if you don't like what you see. That's not the biggest deal of the game. The multiplayer is truly affected after you get into a race. Now, once you're in a race, it starts you off, most of the time you'll be starting off on a grid from a standstill, from a dig. So this means you're lined up with other cars, and when you launch, sometimes you have AFK players. And what happens is when you have an AFK player, you can slam into that. I think they might have changed it now to where you can go through them. They're ghosted, but they're not visually they're not a ghost, so it looks like you still run into them. A lot of times I'll swerve out of the way out of panic, and I'll either hit someone off the road, or someone will hit me off the road and turn. I'm surprised how many people are AFK when a race does start, considering how long you have to wait to get into a race. But that being said, maybe that is the reason why we have so many AFK players, is because when you get into a lobby, you have to wait so long for the race to even start, the next race to even start, so you can participate. Now, with that being said, I think this can be fixed with basically having a ready up system, and before the race starts, everyone has to ready up. Whoever isn't readied up stays in the lobby, and once the game starts, you don't have any people at a standstill on the line, or at least it'll mitigate this problem a little bit. But I think they did, like I said, I think they did update it to where they turn into ghosts so you can drive through them, but still, visually they're not a ghost, so it feels like you can run into them. And of course, not to mention, the biggest problem is player-to-player collision or player-to-player contact. This is a problem in pretty much any game, any racing title out there, really. But in this game, it's probably the worst. And let me explain why. Of course, when you get to the first turn, there's always the no braking players, where you get into the first turn and it's just chaos. Everyone just slams into each other, and nobody seems to know what the concept of a brake pedal is, or the left trigger in this case. But a lot of people slam into you, and this wouldn't be a big deal if there was some kind of penalty system, or if the game's physics work better with you as far as when it comes to player collision. Now, this isn't the only game where player-to-player collision is the worst. Assetto Corsa has a huge problem when it comes to driver contact. When you hit another driver, the physics kind of freak out, or it bumps them gajillion miles away. In Forza, it doesn't seem as much of a big deal when you hit another driver, but when you're coming into a turn, braking suddenly doesn't matter, because you're shunted about another 400 feet when you get hit from behind, or if you get pit maneuvered. And this is due to kind of like how Assetto Corsa's physics work, Forza's physics. And because when you hit another player, they're almost like the car is floating when you get hit, because the game's kind of slow steering pace, at least with the controller. It's hard to reel something back in, or it's hard to keep the car from spinning out, and this kind of results in people slamming into each other and flying all over the place, kind of like Assetto Corsa. And there's really nothing to mitigate this. Like, if you were to have a player-to-player collision in something like Need for Speed, when you have a player-to-player collision in a more arcade game, a lot of times player cars are kind of like walls. If you hit him, you're the one who takes the brunt of the force as a person that hit the other player. When you hit another car, usually it's just kind of like hitting a wall or a barrier or something. There's not much movement that happens once there's a collision. It's just kind of it's almost like hitting a wall. And I think if Forza kind of implemented that kind of aspect as far as when it came to driver-to-driver contact and multiplayer, I think this would mitigate a lot of the problems where people slamming into each other and whatnot. Unrealistic, but as far as the player base is concerned and the type of game this is, I think it will fit the multiplayer play style and the game pace a lot better with a collision system like that, where players don't quite move around or anything when they get hit. Like I said, this is a big deal, because especially turn one, where everyone's hitting each other, and then you have the trolls that try to pit everyone that's driving, and even though you're like way up ahead in the lead, you'll eventually come around to lap somebody, and that person is typically the troll that's kind of crashing into everybody everybody and spinning everyone out. Not a good time, and I think this is the biggest problem as far as Forza is concerned, as the Forza multiplayer community is concerned. That being said, you know, there's other things, like this game doesn't have many penalty systems or ranking systems, and there's no penalty for really hitting another player. All that happens is you shunt the player and they're off into the wilderness, and you just kind of keep going, or you hit another person and you spin out too. There's no in between. There's no penalty for hitting another car, and it doesn't affect your rank or anything. So you keep getting put into lobbies with, you know, drivers like this no matter what. And like I said, occasionally you get lucky and you'll get into a lobby where you don't have any of these type of people. People just want to have a clean race and race normally, but 9 times out of 10, like I said, you'll be queued up with people like this who just slam into you and don't know how to drive. And I get it, this game is trying to appeal to a bigger audience, you know, trying to make the driving physics and stuff cater to, you know, not such a bad learning curve, not such a big learning curve like, you know, Rainbow Six or Counter-Strike is concerned. They wanted to appeal to a bigger audience as far as the car community goes. And with that comes the less talented drivers or people who just want to ruin other people's day, which isn't really a good time. And, you know, Project Cars has a lot of penalty things like and rules that prevent, you know, at least try to discourage players from doing this and de-ranks them in when you go to search for a lobby or a server in Project Cars 2, you tend to end up, you know, playing more with people more at your driving level and your driving discipline. Whereas this game, you're just kind of queued up with the world. You just slam into each other, you know, mashing each other's meat together. It's a good time. And the reason Forza hasn't fixed this is not the only Forza title that has this collision problem with other players. It's almost every single Forza title out there. The Horizon series seems to do it better because the driving controls are a little more arcadey, so when you hit somebody, it's easier to save the collision and not, you know, spin out of control. But in Forza, where it's a little more kind of fall flat on its face as far as when you get hit, there's really nothing you can do in this game. Like I said, if you had a penalty system and derank people, the problem with that is it would split up the player base, and that's, I don't think that's turn tense and tension. They want everyone to be able to enjoy the game. And you know, as far, like I said earlier, making car collision kind of like hitting a wall would definitely help this. And you know, as far as, you know, crappy drivers go, this game has a lot of driving aids that you can enable, yet people seem to not be able to drive. There's, you know, you can pretty much make the car drive itself if you really wanted to, and you know, that's to cater towards the people who aren't as good at driving. That would definitely help out the game in the long run. Another pet peeve of mine is when you get out of a race and you know, you have a car that you like, you do the race and you want to make some adjustments to your tuning, you know, your suspension setup, your transmission setup, whatever. You can't do it while you're in the lobby. You have to literally leave the lobby and go into the main menu, go to tuning, and then make your changes, and then go back, re-queue, potentially wait another 5 to 20 minutes just so you can get into a race to get slammed around, and then, you know, maybe not like the changes you made and not be able to go back and change it in the lobby. You have to leave again and repeat, right? Typically what you would want to do is go into a free single player session by yourself, do a test run, and try to dial out a car, but that's just so much work. Driving by yourself in this game is not very entertaining most of the time, and you just want to get into a multiplayer game and just start tearing up the tracks. But as far as tuning in the lobby goes, it's not a real thing, which is kind of odd because there is a tuning ability. You can go change the tune and modifications you have to the car, but you can only get other people's presets or the presets you have made yourself. So you can't actually make the fine adjustments. You gotta download other people's tunes, or you gotta load up a tune you have previously saved yourself. If you're just hopping in and you don't care what kind of setup you run, if you don't care if it's someone else's setup, that's not a big deal. But for someone like me who likes to fine-tune their own cars and build something they enjoy themselves, they want to make the car something they put together in the game, this kind of sucks as far as, you know, being able to get seat time, since a lot of times you'll get into a game, go through a race, and then realize your car doesn't handle very well. You want to go make a change, but you have to leave the game and then go into the main menu and do all your changes like that. And that kind of sucks, especially for a game where it has a lot of live tuning capabilities, especially seen in Forza Horizon, where you could pretty much do the tuning on the fly. And as far as races go, you can always tune your car in between races, but even in the Horizon series, you seem to not be able to tune your car once you're in a multiplayer lobby, and it seems that Forza 7 suffers the same fate. Even though when you're playing single player, you seem to be able to tune your car in between races. I don't know why. This might be a game engine limitation, or, you know, just
just something they didn't consider. Who knows? And that's really about it that bothers me. I think these are the things that affect multiplayer the most. It's something that's Forza has struggled with as far as the multiplayer aspect is concerned, and it's really unfortunate because there's no competition for Forza other than maybe GT Sport. You know, Forza is kind of in its only, and not many games do what Forza can do, to where you can just build your own car, put it together, and get into a multiplayer lobby, do like a single player campaign and stuff like that. Not many games does it very well, and I think multiplayer is the only thing that this game has going for it. With, you know, the different, so many variation in cars in one race, it's crazy. I think this is the only game that does it remotely well. Unfortunately, it has all these problems, and it kind of falls flat on its face at its core. But like I said, once in a blue moon, you get into a good lobby, and it's just a great time, and I wish it could be like that every single time you get into a lobby. It is unfortunate that this game has these kind of problems. But like I said, these are my opinions. These are the things that I think are wrong with the game, and through my experience, what I felt playing the game as a consumer on the PC side. Let me know what you guys thought, what your guys' thoughts are about Forza's multiplayer system. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, if you agree or disagree with some of the stuff, what you think might help the multiplayer aspect in this game. Leave it down in the comments, let me know, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, be sure to hit that dislike button. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see in the future, what I could do better. And be sure to subscribe for more content like this and many more to come in the future. I try to do regular videos often enough. And if you guys want to hang out with me, I do also have a Twitch account. I stream almost daily. I try to do my best to stream 1 or 2 hours a day, just you know, to hang out with you guys and have a good time playing games. So be sure to come down and check that out as well. I'll leave all the links in the description, and I appreciate you guys stopping by. Thanks. Peace out. Have a good one. All that good jazz. Bye bye.